And the Japanese fans, they were saying stuff like, David, why you break song? Why you break ballad?
Hey, David, how's it going?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yep. Oh, yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, great stuff.
So when I do these, I always like to start at the beginning of you as a musician and then work our way up to the new record. So where did you grow up and when did you get started in music? And how did you get started in music?
Well, I grew up in a place called Cliviger, which is near Burnley, UK, which nobody knows, of course. So I'll just say Manchester.
Okay, yeah.
but I'm not a football fan in any shape or form. Everybody asks me that. Manchester City or United. Unfortunately, no football. But my family was very musical. My mother sings too, and so it was obviously very musical at home, you could say. I was singing in the choir. I was forced to go to the choir every Sunday, which at that time wasn't cool, but of course now I'm happy about it. And at the age of about 11, 12, I found a electric guitar in a friend's attic. So we put some strings on and we both started to learn guitar. And then when I was about 14, I did my first concert at school. And we were doing Beatles songs. So, I mean, I was really heavily into the Beatles at the time. You're obviously learning about melody and writing songs. And, I was a guitar player at the time and I did a bit of singing, but it wasn't really a serious thing. The music was serious, but I didn't realize that one day I'd be on stage strutting my stuff, singing, being a rock singer. It wasn't till later on when I discovered, obviously after discovering like the 70s, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, stuff like that I heard the 87 record from Whitesnake and many other records around that time. I would have been around 16, 17. And from then on, I was bitten by the bug, to be honest. And that's been my life's journey.
So that album then was like your big seminal record, like this is it,
It was just the time and place. 87 was, obviously it was in the charts, it was like Still the Night.
Oh, that was massive.
Yeah,
I mean, it was 10 million sold and it was everywhere.
Yeah, it was, everything at that time. Obviously there was Guns N' Roses, I think. Obviously, we were all into that, but Coverdale's voice was definitely a moment of I realized at that point, wow, this is something really cool. This is what I strive to achieve somehow. Not that I wanted to be a clone or anything, and I do sing in tribute bands to this day because it's what I started out to do, really, and I know the stuff, but it's not like I just wanted to do that kind of style with my voice or anything. I wanted to get my own thing, but like any guitar player, they listen to Clapton or Page or whoever, and they take a piece of that and make it their own, and that was important for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was just listening. I didn't realize that you were back with Voodoo Circle until about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
When I was looking something else up. I knew you'd left the band in 2015. But it was funny listening to the latest record and sampling some of that and going, oh my God, like there's definitely moments where, like just listening to it, I was going, this is totally power metal Whitesnake. And again, not clone, but there are a few little moments and little things, phrases and things, and I'm like, that's totally Coverdale right there. But then other moments, it's not at all. It's like you channeled it at the right times.
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that timbre, you can say, in the voice. Yep. If someone says to me, if there was a plug-in for the voice, and some people say, look, can you do a bit of this or a bit of Robert Plant or, even though I'm a Led Zepp fan, I wouldn't say that I can do Plant very well. He had a higher voice, but, it's just having fun with it, really. And the latest Voodoo Circle record, we were trying to be a bit more Zepp with that record. And I think we did it in places, but you can't get away from the fact that we're both big fans. It's not like we're listening to it 24/7. And the latest stuff that they're doing, honestly, doesn't really interest me. I think when Doug left the band, it kind of changed a little bit for me. I'm a big Doug Aldrich fan, and having jammed with him a few years ago definitely strengthened that, of course. Yeah, it's not like we're kind of like, this should be like this or whatever. It's just fits to the music really well. It's just that kind of style, and I appreciate the way that he used to sing.
Yeah. So, all right. So you're talking about being in bands in high school, whatnot. Now, how do you go from that to Pink Cream 69? Like, because that's the first thing that I can find you really doing as far as recording and stuff, is that band. Did you do things before Pink Cream?
Well, I was making demos. I was playing the local gig scene in the UK. I really went from hanging out with a few friends. And when you're in that sort of position, you've got to make a decision. You've got to decide, look, am I going to hang out with my friends for the rest of my life and be really lucky like Nirvana or something like that, where, they were hanging out as buddies and they'd get like a new drummer and next thing they're famous? Am I going to do that, which is a great thing, if that happens, but it's a risk? Or am I going to wander out a little bit? And you've got to see the bigger picture. And I started to audition. I used to send tapes out to a magazine called Melody Maker.
Oh, yeah.
Which doesn't exist anymore, I don't think. Enemy is still around. Maybe digital, I'm not sure. But I really used to go in the shop. I had no money at the time. I was unemployed. I was probably about 21, 22. I was doing odd jobs, doing bits and pieces. I really went in the shop. I didn't have the money for the magazine, so I would write on my hand the telephone number and maybe the address or something, secretly, of course. Then I would send, any money that I did have, I'd use it for the postal. And I sent a tape to many places, and I auditioned for Adrian Smith for his second solo record from Iron Maiden. He called me up one day, which was a bit shocking.
I bet.
So, obviously I was getting attention. I was getting other singers calling me up from London at the time. He was, trying to find out who's this guy. And it was a great thing, but it was a bit shocking because I'd really gone from playing the local music scene to causing a little bit of a stir in a way. Then I moved to London for a little bit, not long, but I was jamming with a band and possible record company stuff and working with other bands. So I was really sleeping on people's couches, basically. I had no money. I was unemployed. I was trying to scrape by. I ended up in Newcastle after that with Thomas Mac Rocklin, who was the prodigy, you could say, of Steve Vai at the time from the band Bad for Good. So I ended up auditioning for his band and we did a few demos, but it turned into nothing really. But it was strengthening my confidence, you could say, to go for other different things. And slowly but surely there were some nice advertisements. The advertisements in Melody Maker were quite often band with record deal looking for singer. And of course, that's what I wanted, So then I saw the German thing, sent the cassette. I remember they called me up many times. I was never at home, and obviously there was no mobile phones at the time. And my sister would say honestly to me, David, somebody's called again from Germany. And all I said was, well, if it's really that important, they'll catch me, because I wasn't going to call them back. So one day I was at home, which was very rare in those days. Costa was on the phone, the then drummer of Pink Cream 69. He said, I love the cassette. We want to invite you over to Germany and do an audition. So I was like, whoa, man, that's great. But I'll tell you now, I've got no money for the flight. And he said, look, we'll send you obviously there wasn't really email at the time. He sent me in the post like a demo cassette that I could learn the songs. The new demo for the record was Dougie White was singing on the songs.
Oh, really?
Dougie
didn't know he was in the band. Was he in between Andy and then you?
Yeah, he was in the band for about 5 minutes, basically. He joined the band, but he then got picked up by Rainbow, so that was it. They were kind of stuck, so they needed someone else, and I guess this was like the second attempt. I might not be completely correct, but I think from 500 cassettes, I was like one of the last people, and I got the tickets, flew over there. I think it was my second flight ever. And I expected Germany to be really dark and grey and still full of bullet holes from the war, But it wasn't. It was beautiful. It was like Disneyland, coming from the UK unemployed to Germany. It was like, oh my God, I'm going to get this gig. I like the band. I'm going to get this gig. I am not going home. So I basically got the gig. We recorded a little bit. The manager gave me some money, some spending money. Some pocket money, and I went home, said to my mother, look, I'm moving. Within a week I'd moved back to Germany, and I've been now Well, I'm living in Netherlands now. I moved to Holland, but I've been overseas about 27 years.
That's crazy. So did you live in Germany for a long time afterwards?
Yeah, I was in Germany for about 22 years, yeah.
Ah, okay. So tell me then, so you joined the band. So was everything written for Change when you came on board, or was it sort of like part of the record and you guys continued putting it together at that point?
I think most of the songs were written. I came up with a song called Change. Funny Words was one of my songs. And then maybe something else, Stretch the Truth, I think. So I came up with other stuff. At that time, I was also listening to Soundgarden and I was listening to the cool stuff at the time. I still do to this day, still enjoy the records of then, a bit of Pearl Jam, definitely the Skid Row, Slave to the Grind, which was a bit sleazy, but almost grungy in a way.
It's my all-time favorite record, so I hear you.
Yeah. So it was that kind of, vibe going on. And for me, it was really I knew the guys had a different thing going on, but I thought, okay, these guys are going to go in a different direction. They're going to use a different singer. So for me, it was no big deal. I turned up and a lot of the stuff was there. Dougie had sung on a few demos. So we went to California to record the first record. And there would be some extra lyrics written and stuff like that. But the band was already very far. Dennis obviously is a producer now, and he's mixing and mastering a lot and producing bands. But at the time, he was also on that getting on his way. But we still needed to work with a producer at the time. But it was pretty much there. Yeah.
So tell me more about that experience in LA. I'm guessing, was that your first time in the States going over?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Because that would have been, I think that was your only record you guys ever used an outside producer, right? And then after that, it was just Dennis the whole time.
That's right. The next record, Food for Thought, we then, he felt good about it, and we started to work with Dennis to make the next record. We worked with Shea Baby in Calabasas, and, I'd really gone from having no money whatsoever, living off baked beans every day with different things, and to spending, like 2 months in California, like sort of Christmas and New Year, living in a really nice motel, swimming pool, going to the studio every day, recording, hanging out in Hollywood a little bit, Los Angeles. Yeah, what can I tell you, man? It was just too extreme.
That's crazy. Yeah, unreal. Join a band and the whole world opens up. So after 2 records, you guys shifted in style back to something resembling the original sound. Tell me about that change, going from, changed Food for Thought, sort of grungy style, back to the hard rock, metal sort of sound of Electrified. Tell me about making that record.
Yeah, I mean, we never really sat down at a sort of master plan, but it was pretty clear that, the band, where the band came from. And obviously I was recording this certain kind of style with these guys. They didn't really know if I could do like this more melodic rock type sort of stuff, But I mean, if I'm honest now, if you would listen to like the first record or the second, if you would remix it with, a bit more explosive drums and mix it like Dennis would mix like the last record, Headstrong, anything sort of goes these days. It was just at that time, it was done in a certain way, maybe to fit the time and place. And people look back and think, oh, that's a bit too grungy for me and everything. Possible, very possible. I mean, the Electrified record obviously was different. I mean, I sat down with my 4-track. There wasn't really any software computer. There was like this really basic Cubase thing that you could use, I guess, at the time, Soundscape. So I sat down with my 4-track and I started writing songs like Burn Your Soul, Electrified, stuff like that. And I had like 3 or 4 songs. And we just started to piece together, the rest of the record. And at that time, we were able to go to the studio for like 6, 7, 8 weeks full time. I moved in, basically. I think Dennis slept there basically all the time. And, obviously we were just full time, 6, 7 weeks working on this record, basically. We did the guide tracks. And then evening we'd write lyrics and change stuff and do choirs and stuff like that. So it was a really great experience, and I think it turned out fantastic. Of course, it's one of our, obviously the earlier stuff, but one of our more celebrated records. There's no doubt about it. And a song like Shame on You, we weren't sure about the lyrics, and we spent like a few days thinking about some of the lyrics because we thought it was a bit too soft. But in the end, we kept it, and luckily, that's what we did.
Yeah, that is definitely, like, including the old stuff is my favorite Pink Cream record by far. That was, I think, one of the first things I discovered through Napster was I went, Pink Cream 69, what is this? And the first thing I heard was Stranger in Time, and that's still my favorite Pink Cream song.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
that record was
we never
huge.
really played that live. We did it sometimes, but it's also one of my really favorite songs because I just know, obviously, how the song was put together, and I'm doing that, singing with. It's almost Zepp-ish, and
Yeah.
the influences that I had at the time, that we brought into the songs, and in a way for Headstrong, we had that same kind of feeling again, in a way, making that. We didn't go in the studio for 6-7 weeks. It's not as possible these days to do that kind of thing. And Dennis obviously can record a lot in his own place, his own studio, but. No, it was a great experience, and it, like I said, we never really sat down, but to say, look, we're going to go back to the roots, but it was like an obvious thing to do. If we're going to stay in business and have a chance at, doing more with this band, then we need to have a bit of a rethink. And I do remember there was a place called the Rockfabrik in Ludwigsburg. It was it's gone now, unfortunately, but it was like a really quite famous rock club, very big. Inside was done out really cool with a lot of rock and roll type of. That was a big place, and they played at that Stranger in Time or even Shame, and I heard that somebody had actually said, "Wow, that's Pink Cream 69, and they're back." and that's really how it was. We went to Japan, we went to Brazil with that record. It was incredible.
Yeah, again from that, I mean, you guys did sort of that sonic. Yeah, Endangered, right? That was the green one. Yeah. Love that record. I'm blanking on the title.
The green one.
Yeah.
but that's another situation where the record's not bad. It's not a bad record, but the artwork kind of, love it or hate it, it didn't do any good stuff for the record, but if you listen to that record, it's a good record, some great songs on there. But for whatever reason, we went with that artwork and it just didn't do it any good, strange.
Yeah. All right, let's jump ahead. we could talk Pink Cream for another hour, but let's dive into some other stuff. A record you did about 5 years ago that I really enjoyed was with Victor Smolski on the Almanac records. Tell me, how did these records come together? Like, did you just sort of join last minute to sing on it, or were you part of the songwriting?
I was really there from the beginning. I'd met Victor at a Pink Cream gig. I'd met him a few times before with Rage, just said hello, and that was really it. And one day, Victor, he must have got my number from somewhere. One day he called me up and he said, look, it was a long conversation, a long conversation in German. And then right at the end, he said, I want you to join the band. I was like, whoa, okay. Because he was talking about some kind of solo record, and then it turned into a band, So I was like, wow, yeah, that's great, man. I mean, that's great. I was moving to the Netherlands anyway because I was living in the south of Germany. It's not so far away from where he lives, but moving up a little bit towards the left wasn't such a bad thing, obviously as in travel and distance and everything. And I was in a band, I guess, 2 or 3 years, and we made 2 records with me together. We made let's see, what did we do? Did we make a live record? I don't know, but
I can't remember either. I know the first 2. If there's a live one in there, I must have missed it.
We didn't make a live record, but we made some incredible videos too. And for me, obviously, I'm talking this way. Obviously, I'm not in the band anymore. It started amazing, and towards the end, it went a little bit downhill. But the beginning was an incredible thing. We. At the time, I was doing a tour and I was doing demos and stuff like that. I was, talking to Andy B. Frank from Brainstorm a little bit. And at some point, we met up and we jammed, and we went in the studio and we recorded the vocals. The music was pretty much done. It's a masterpiece in respect to that first record. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was killer. Now, did you guys go in? Did you both record the entire record, or like I know Alan Land, they both recorded the entire record and then just pieced together the pieces. Is that what you guys did as well, or did you already have it planned? You're going to take this part, I'll take this part, kind of thing.
That's what we did. I mean, I was making demos and imagining me and an Andy kind of thing, A-B type sort of thing going on, and also lyric wise. The plan was, of course, I would write 4 lyrics, he'd write 4 lyrics on 8 songs, and maybe an instrumental or something like that. I went into the studio and recorded 8 songs over like 2 days or something like that. And then, I'd made the demos so I could give him the demos and he could then kind of learn the stuff. Obviously, I knew the songs very well. Obviously, I'd made the demos. We changed a few things, a few timing things. It was a fast thing. We worked with the producer at the time. What's he called? Oh, that's bad. But yeah, he's in a band. He's also a good singer, quite a successful band. And we went to his studio, and he's a singer as well. So he knew he knew how to work with a singer, how to record a singer. And it was a good experience working with him. Yeah, Seb.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, I can go grab the CD and get all the details. But
Seb, and he's in a band. What they called, I can't remember. They'll hate me for this, but that's live.
Yeah, you hit the point. You've done so many things and work with so many people. You start to draw blanks after a while. All right. So before we touch on the new Black Eye record, you've got a new. Now, is it out or is it coming out? Medusa.
Yeah, it's coming out. It's taking time. It's like I've not been under pressure with a record company or anything, which probably would have been a good thing. But I'm mixing the last couple of tracks with Dennis. It was an accidental thing. Obviously, it was Corona, it was lockdown, and I decided, right, I'm going to make a YouTube channel. I'm going to start vlogging. I've never really done it before. I didn't like it so much in a way because I'm kind of a private sort of person in many ways. So it was kind of like, took me a while to start doing that kind of thing. And then I realized, people quite like this, and they're getting involved. I did a few live things. And I'm still building the channel. It's not as extreme, but, day by day, there's more subscribers, and I'm doing vlogs from time to time on different things. You can check that out, David Readman. Check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, I've been checking it out for the last, year, I want to say.
All right.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. I enjoyed the story about Want to Hear You Rock. I think that was really cool.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that I'd done. And I realized that the channel needed a focus because obviously I have a lot to talk about Pink Dream 69, but it's very one-sided in a way, and obviously you want to try and bring other people in, of course, if possible, rock and roll type people.
Yeah, well, actually, I listened to the interview with you and Marco as well that you guys did. I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that was me really just, messing around, and of course, never did anything like that before, as in, the streaming software or making videos. Obviously, I made videos for the singles. It was really just messing around. And it was the best time to do it, of course, because we're all in lockdown. So I needed a focus. So I put it out there a little bit that I would make a single. People started to send me money on PayPal, So I was like, oh, my God, this is crazy. Okay, we're going to make a song. Because it's, I've obviously a focus and make a nice video and have some fun with it. Then I thought to myself, whoa, I'm getting quite a bit of money here. It's kind of too much for making a single. Let's make a record. Now, obviously, I wanted to make a record after my first solo, 13 years later. But it's difficult for me to make a record with other people is easier than make a solo record. So, I needed a focus. So I said, right, okay, let's do a GoFundMe. People started to pledge money and everything. And it's up until now, the record's nearly finished. This year, it's definitely going to come out. The big thing is you're always waiting for the musicians because there's like a different guitar player on every song. It's like 10 guitar players, 10 bass players, 4 or 5 drummers. So you're always at the mercy of these people when they have time or they're inspired to sit down and play guitar on these tracks, So this takes time. And that's been a lot of the fight. And also, sometimes I've, worked on a song and thought, I don't like it anymore. Let's do something else. So it all takes time. And I'm kind of doing it on my own. And I've released, I guess, 4 singles.
Oh, is there 4 now? Okay. The last I heard was 3, and I loved every one of them. I thought you're really onto something.
Check it out, man. The 4th single came out, Mary Jane. Came out on Christmas Day, and obviously not having a record company meant that I could do what I wanted. Okay, Christmas Day is a single coming out, and I do a vlog, and it's cool, man. It's up until now, it's been really successful. Sold a lot of T-shirts from the artwork, and it's coming out this year. But of course, the pressure of having a record company and doing it the normal way is not there. The plan is, of course, to make the CDs. People who've pre-ordered, I send the CDs to them signed with a nice poster and stuff like that. If they ordered a T-shirt, we send a T-shirt, of course. Obviously, when I'm on tour, when I could get out there, slowly but surely things are opening up a little bit, then I sell them. That's it. That is the plan.
So, all right, let's. So, looking forward to that. Let's talk the new Black Eye records. You've got this slamming new record out with Secret Sphere's Aldo Lenoble. I think I'm pronouncing his name right.
Better than me, anyway. Aldo Lenoble. Yeah.
So, tell me about how this new record came about. Was this an idea of Serafino's, or was this something you guys have been talking about for a while? Or tell me about this new one.
Well, I could tell you a romantic story that's really amazing, or I can tell you the truth.
Why not both?
Well, I always say that because obviously rock and roll and the music business is quite often built on lies, isn't it? And quite amazing stories. But I think these days it's cool to be honest, and clarity is important. No, I mean, I had released my first solo record with Frontiers. I had been in contact with them pretty much straight after. I did a record with Andre Anderson, the keyboard player from Royal Hunt. I did a record with him with Frontiers a long time ago.
Well, it's funny because I interviewed Paul Lane and asked him about that one.
Yeah,
as well.
Paul Lane was on it. Never really met him or anything, but that's the way it goes. That was kind of the beginning of the internet, sort of, working over the internet a little bit, not really meeting anybody, type sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, Frontiers basically approached me and said, "Look, it's time that we did something with you again." They obviously have some really great singers on their roster, and I felt good about that. And for this record, I actually worked with 3 different producers in the beginning, and did some kind of demos which weren't accepted by the record company in the beginning. It wasn't what they were looking for. And finally, when I started to work with Aldo, and I knew straight away, he sent me the demos, and I was like, wow, this is good stuff. I'm sure the guys at Frontiers are going to love this. And it took about a year, basically, off and on, to make the record. And I think towards the end of last year, we were finally finished, and we could do some edits and finally mix and master it. And the brainchild, I guess, is Serafino. But a big part of it was definitely Aldo. And I finally got the chance to meet him in real about 3 weeks ago when he played in the Netherlands with his, of course, I know Alexandro from the Voodoo Circle days. But that's it, The romantic story could be a bit different, but that's basically it, And it's fantastic. Aldo will be playing also guitar on one of my tracks on my solo record. So you see how the whole thing works, how it all connects, in that respect.
Yep, it's all favors, and hey, I know this guy, let's call him up and see if he'll play, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've got to say on this record, I think you're singing some of the highest stuff I think I've ever heard you sing. You're just totally bringing out the metal on this new record. It's, I'm listening to it going oh, there's that break the silence high note there. Always, it was just fantastic.
Yeah, I did after a few years, I did shy a little bit away from the higher stuff in respect. Not that I couldn't do it, but it was really I was more appreciative myself of, lower range type sort of stuff where my voice really rings and feels good and sounds good. And of course, when you go on tour, if you're screaming, I'm 52 now. Very soon in July, I'll be 52. So there are singers out there that had started singing high like that. And these days they're not doing it anymore, they're not doing that stuff anymore. And I think it's a shame in a way. So I don't want to start at this age screaming my head off. And, when I'm 70, I'm going to be struggling, But no, I shied away a little bit. But I think with this record, some of the stuff, like you said, I got the demos and it was quite high. And the demo singer on that, this is the romantic thing again. I'm coming with the truth. The singer on some of the tracks had a different voice than me, a different timbre, higher range, And I was like, whoa, this is pretty high, this stuff. I can do it, but do I want to? So I did the demos, and I told Aldo, I said, look, maybe I changed some stuff, on the real thing, or I go for it. And I decided to go for it. And it's been great. A lot of people have mentioned that, like you said, they appreciate it. So, maybe I've realized, shying away from those high notes is not the best.
Well, I'm glad to hear they're back, and hopefully they'll make some more appearances. Now, I've heard too you have some new Pink Cream is working on another record. Is that true?
Absolutely. Romantic and the Real Truth again. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we'd start. Dennis is on tour at the moment with Magnum. He's the best player of Magnum these days, and they're supporting Gotthard. So it's a good tour. Quite a long tour. I think at the end of the month he comes home. I'm not completely sure. I'll have to check the dates. That doesn't help. I mean, Dennis is a massive part of all this. We never really talked about it in the extent of, because obviously he did leave the band, but Dennis will definitely make this next record. And he's on tour. It doesn't help. And we will play our first show in July in the Czech Republic. So I'll meet up with the guys. Honestly, in real life, very soon, the end of the month, after about 2.5 years. Yeah.
That's crazy. Which I guess makes sense, you being so far away, plus lockdown, plus different countries and how they're locking down and all the rest of it. Yeah, I can believe it.
I mean, honestly, it was like, now I can go to Germany, no problem. You don't blink an eye. But there was a time when I just couldn't. Or I could, but it was a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And there was a time when you had to get a negative test before you got on the train or got on your car or whatever, or you had to be vaccinated. I mean, there was a time when it was the pure, absolute ludicrous what was going on, honestly, compared to now. What I'm doing in the Netherlands is absolutely nothing here. There's nothing, no masks, no plastic. There's not a sign. The only thing that's left is that people tend to stand apart from each other a little bit if they're waiting somewhere. That's it.
Yeah, I'll say in Canada as well. I mean, it's masks are, I wouldn't say they're completely gone, but that's about the only thing people are doing. Everything's wide open. Everything's more or less as it was, with masks and a little bit more distancing, like you say. Otherwise, it feels very close to what it was a couple of years ago before all this started.
Absolutely. We've been doing this now without masks for about 3 months. And, nothing's happened. I mean, there's nothing on TV. The only thing that's on TV, of course, is something else, and we don't need to go there, but we know what that is. Yeah, it's just difficult times in respect. We're definitely going to make another record. There's no doubt about that. And I think that next year will be a big year for Pink Cream 69. It's unfortunate that we couldn't do it this year, but I think a lot of bands are also finding it difficult to find the feet. It's not like they are, really going for it just yet. They're building up steam, still being a bit cautious. There are bands, of course, like, Gotthard and other bands like that are on tour. They're being very careful. I mean, I heard backstage there's nobody. And if there are, they're wearing masks and stuff like that. So that makes sense. Why not? They're being really careful. They don't want to be going home just yet. And that's the way it goes, man.
Fantastic. So you got Pink Cream on the horizon. Black Eye just came out. Your new solo record, Medusa, will be out before the end of the year. Anything else you can talk about or plug you got coming up?
Yeah, bits and bats. I've been doing sessions here and there with different people. Let me think. What else can I plug? Nothing really at the moment. Yeah, the biggie, of course, is Black Eye. Go and check it out, people. Go and check that record out, man.
So we got new Black Eye and also your vlog, the David Readman channel on YouTube as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I try on the vlog to focus on the solo record, but I'm also now trying to... I used to spend a bit of time messing around and editing and shit like that, which is nice. It makes nice videos, but just too much time involved. So I'm going for a more basic approach, and I'm trying now to go over the records, how we made them, a bit of background information, which you just don't get, and I'm just trying to do a little bit more of that these days for the Pink Cream records, and if somebody asks me and That's what that's about. It's really just fun and games, you know. I like a bit of fun in my life, and I'm very serious about my music, but I do like some fun.
For sure.
Yeah.
One request I have for a future vlog is the story of Electrified.
The whole record or the song?
All of it, really. I think I know we touched on it a bit, and honestly, like I said, we go an hour just on that record. Never mind Sonic Dynamite,
yeah, of course,
and all the rest.
But I'll just give you a little trinket before we go. A little trinket before we go. The last song, the hidden song on that record, I think you know it.
No, which version? So there's always "Love You" and the weird version of "Gone Again."
That's right, the weird version. Yeah, that's right. Now, we were finished with the record. Then he said, "We're done," and we'd been at it. I mean, evenings. We'd been at it, and he said, "Look, we're done." And I said, "Look, let's do Gone Again, but I'm going to do it different. I'm going to do it with a Cockney accent. I've been waiting for Amtrak, Darwin." And so I did this version. Everybody's like, "What the hell is that?" And then he said, "Right, that's going to be the hidden track," and everybody's really shocked in the studio. I think I was showing off a little bit, just a bit of fun. And so it was a hidden track. So the great thing about that track was that if you were doing an interview with somebody or a review and they talked about that track, they'd listen to the record. If they didn't know that track, they'd listen to one or two songs. You know what I mean? And so many times people would say to me, "Wow, I was cleaning the house and then that track came." I was like, "What the hell is this?" And then it was like, really, it's a great thing. It was a good talking point. And the Japanese fans, they were saying stuff like, "David, why you break song? Why you break ballad?" We go to Japan and they're really upset. "David, ballad was really beautiful, but why you break ballad?" I was like, "Well, I'm from the UK. I like to have a bit of fun. That's the way it goes, man."
Oh, that's fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, David. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out to do this, all the great stories, and best of luck with both the new Black Eye record and your upcoming solo record. Really looking forward to it. And yeah, hopefully we get a chance to do this again soon. I would love to hear some more, Pink Cream stories and all the rest of it, really. So many other bands we didn't have a chance to get to.
Absolutely. Brandon, it was really a pleasure to be on your show. Hi to everybody. Check out the new Black Eye record. Obviously the Pink Cream 69 stuff.
No, you're very welcome. All right. Thanks so much, David. I'll let you get to it. Have a good one and best of luck out there.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.